doing something a little different today. We are doing a film podcast, I guess, where we just watch a film each, the same film, preferably. Won't make any sense otherwise. And then we talk about it. Not going to be anything particularly, it's not going to be like a structured review. It's more of a discussion about what we liked and what we didn't like and what was good and what was bad. We're going to try and be as objective as possible in certain regards, but a lot of subjectivity will just work its way in there. And it's up to you to decide which, and no, you don't get a prize. Just laying that up. Okay. So I rewatched The Bad Batch, and I got JJ to watch it for the first time. We both watched it earlier today. I decided to pick the same time that JJ watched it just to get it out the way, because I knew that I'd just be like building up to it throughout the day if I left it any later, so I just watched it at the same time you did, roughly. And JJ, why don't you start us off?
Okay.
I'll try and start from the beginning if possible. I don't want to just dive right in. Shall we start with what we actually liked about it?
Yeah. I quite like the cinematography.
I did too.
Yeah.
It was quite interesting, and I keep pressing the wrong buttons. I'm sorry. Why don't you tell me what you liked about it? I always end up taking control, and that'd be both ways.
Oh, honestly, my favourite part was probably the first 6 minutes or so, when she was just wandering.
I actually liked the first 20 minutes, because even after she gets caught, even though the way she gets caught is a little weird, it's like suddenly she's just running and she's not even trying to fight. And how would she even know what those two women in a golf cart would even mean? Why would she think, oh yes, they're definitely people I should run away from, and not even try to fight? Well, she probably could have. I mean, the fact that later on, with only one arm and a leg, she managed to take one of them down with whatever the hell that was, that metal spike. So yeah, that little bit didn't make any sense to me, but I did like the way it opened up. I like the fact that it started with the dialogue over all the production company logos and things and the credits, so it wasn't like just silence. It's like, let's just get this ball rolling.
Yeah.
So I quite like that. Yeah, that was good.
Honestly, my first instinct when I saw that car in the distance was just like hide in the car until they passed.
Yeah, I remember just thinking it was like, she's going to notice that at some point. I'm thinking that isn't anything good. Is she going to notice it yet? And then when she finally does, it's just a hard cut to her running away, and I'm just like...
Without her bag.
Without her bag. She left everything behind. I was just like, that's a choice.
Yeah.
And how did you think you were actually going to outrun a golf cart? It's that they're using it because it's faster than running. Otherwise, they would just be running. That makes no sense to me.
Or me.
Yeah, that was just ridiculous. And I was just like, that's the part where it started to fall to pieces. Started a little bit.
Yeah.
Didn't fully fall to pieces until the 5 months later. Like, why? Why was it? I said we were going to start with the things we liked about it, so shall we do that?
Yeah. The soundtrack.
Well, the soundtrack. There were aspects of the soundtrack that I didn't like, but all in all, the music was good. And I noticed that it didn't really have a score.
I quite liked that, yeah.
Yeah, and when it wasn't playing songs, it was just ambience. Like, the wind in the desert was cool, and it just, like, there's something just about the way they did the wind that it just seemed like it was very dry atmosphere, even when you didn't have the visuals. So, yeah, that was good.
I liked that. I liked the effects as well. I mean,
yeah.
It
actually looked like she'd lost her limbs.
Yeah.
And when, like, you have that downward angle of her just, like, across her body with them, like, soaring her leg off, and then they just lift it up.
Yeah.
That was really good. And I'll say this for Suki Waterhouse, she's a very good method actor. Like, all the physical stuff, the way she had to move in certain situations was really, really good.
Yeah.
Her acting, however, kind of went downhill when she opened her mouth.
That voice.
The accent was awful. It's a British actress trying to do an American accent, and it just doesn't work. But it's not only that, it's that she delivered her lines so poorly. Yeah. It's like, I don't know if it's actually about the other characters too. It's even, especially Keanu Reeves actually, is that none of them seem to actually have any faith in the words they were saying. It's like they didn't believe in the script at all.
I don't feel like anyone did.
No. And Jason Momoa's accent. What the hell was that?
I have no idea.
He didn't sound Cuban. I've heard Cuban people speak. He did not sound Cuban. He sounded maybe like...
It sounded like a meld between a bit of Cuban, but mostly South African, in a way.
Yeah, he did sound quite South African. He definitely did not sound Cuban.
And for the first time I heard him speak, I was like, are you African?
It was very strange. And
Yeah.
Like, I actually liked the fact that in the first 20 minutes there was virtually no dialogue.
Yeah.
In fact, throughout the film there's actually very minimal dialogue, which is
like that too.
Nice when you consider just how bad the dialogue really was.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Here's a thing which may be a bit of a nitpick. But where did they get petrol or diesel from?
Where did they get anything from, JJ?
Yeah,
where did they get food from that wasn't human meat? Where did they get the rabbit from?
We don't know how big it is.
Where did they get electricity?
That's another thing I thought of too.
None of that makes sense unless you have, like, the rest of the world occasionally doing airdrops like they do in survival games. Which they may have, but it wasn't ever a thing that happened. It was just a case of, we have all this stuff. And that was another thing.
That wouldn't explain the electricity.
It wouldn't. It's like, I remember saying, we have air conditioning, and I'm just like, how do you have air conditioning? I know that Keanu Reeves was talking about the plumbing later on, but where's the power plant? Where are the wind farms? Do you have have all your pregnant women just on exercise bikes creating friction? Is that how it works? Yeah, it was an interesting attempt at that kind of world, but it doesn't make any sense. Not even when you get down to the ground, because I noticed that the first time I watched it, and I wasn't even fully paying attention the first time. The second time, I just stopped and just thought, this makes no sense at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was weird.
It was. And I don't understand why it was specifically 5 months. I also don't understand why we didn't see anything that happened in those 5 months. And I also don't understand...
Those 5 months didn't even happen. So
yeah, it's also...
nothing changed.
Except that she got her prosthetic leg.
Yeah, and that could have
happened. She didn't get one for her arm. I don't know why. We didn't see her getting to know anyone at Comfort. It skipped the entire thing because she kept on going on about how much she hates Comfort.
Yeah, but why?
And I'm just thinking, why? What's wrong with it? Literally, all we see is air conditioning, crazy Giovanni Ribisi, and some raves with drugs, which kind of you get in actual America anyway. So I actually... also fucking working plumbing and electricity, so I don't get what your problem is here.
So she hated the place with everything you could possibly want in that kind of situation and decided to go off...
into the desert with Jason Momoa, who can't speak English.
For shit.
I'm not even convinced he was speaking Spanish that well, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's like, I want to see those 5 months. I think that would have made a better story, because after the 5 month point, it just starts to stagnate.
It felt like they literally ran out of ideas.
Yeah.
And pulled the 5 months out of thin air, we need a time gap.
No, you don't. It didn't have to be a time gap. You could have just thought, she's been there a while. Or you could have actually seen someone making the prosthetic for her. I still think that would have been a much more interesting story. She was in Comfort for 5 months, and yet she doesn't seem to know anybody. The rave that she went to was after the 5 month mark, and yet does she know any of these people? She's acting like she's never been to one before, and it's just really strange that she would think, oh yes, tonight's the night. The night that I actually have to look after this little girl is the night that I'm gonna get high and go to a rave, or the other way around. But it's the same thing. It makes no sense. It's inconsistent. Also, I noticed earlier when she's escaping on the skateboard into the desert, and the hermit finds her, there are no visual effects for anything like sunburn or dehydration.
I did notice, but she just
she just looked quite tired.
Completely pristine. So.
Yeah, she was a bit muddy, and of course she still had a bit of shit on her, but her lips weren't cracked, and she had no blistering on her skin, even though she'd been under a hot sun for an indeterminate amount of time, and it made no sense.
I'm surprised she found it so easy to actually get out of a cannibal's camp.
Yeah, it was just nobody's watching.
He knocked that person out, or maybe even killed
Nobody noticed that they did that either.
And then just rolled out slowly.
Strolled out. Also, it doesn't make any sense that woman would think, she's lost an arm and a leg. She's not going to fight back. I'll untie her. What? That was quite convoluted. I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
I will say, however, I did like her watermelon hot pants. I'll miss those.
Yeah.
But the winky smiley face ones were pretty good too.
Mm.
Yeah. They definitely had the worst lead accents I'd ever heard.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there were also a lot of unnecessarily long silences, where people would just be staring at each other. It's almost like they either forgot their lines or they were just trying to pad the runtime. And I'm just like, this film is already long enough.
2 hours.
Yeah, I didn't actually realise it was actually 2 hours until that point. And something else I noticed just about Arlen's character, that's actually making the argument that she even has a character, is that she gives off this aura of, especially in her hatred of Comfort, that she's better than everybody else. And I was right, we don't find out why she was part of the Bad Batch. She just is. And also, she never did tell Jason Momoa that she's the one who shot his wife in the head.
Nope.
Also, another thing that I noticed is, you know how Keanu Reeves asked her what she really wanted?
Yeah.
And she said it was to be the solution to something? It is the most convoluted thing I've ever seen in a film. She wanted to be the solution to something, so she created the problem to be the solution for. She kidnapped that man's child. He went to her to ask to get her back. She did. She solved that problem. She caused that problem. She was the problem. She was a terrible character.
Honestly, the worst thing about that entire film.
Yeah, after the first 20 minutes, it's everything, it's all the technical stuff about it. It's the cinematography, the sound design, the soundtrack. It's all that stuff that is good. There is no character. There is no story. And another something is that the dialogue at the end of the film really didn't make any sense. It wasn't just me misunderstanding it the first time.
Nope.
Nothing she said made sense. And even he was just like, I don't fucking want you. And she's just like, oh, well, I'm going to stay anyway. I kid you not, the moment he couldn't find another rabbit, he would have chopped off her other arm and leg and eaten those. No, I would have.
I would, yeah.
The thing is, the characters, neither of them had chemistry with each other.
No.
But do you know why that is? Because neither of the characters had character.
No characters, really.
Yeah.
The most interesting character was the Hermit.
Yes. And that was Jim Carrey.
Hmm.
And I would have liked to have known what his deal was. He was basically the Deus Ex Machina. He just showed up when all hope seemed lost every single time. You know, what was his actual story? I would have liked to have heard more about that. And he wasn't even credited.
That's incredibly stupid.
Yeah. See, the best things about it that I could figure out were the setting and the overall theme, the soundtrack and the cinematography, and the casting. And the casting was backwards. Because I've only seen Suki Waterhouse in 3 things, and only one of which was she the lead, and it was really not good. And that was this.
Yeah.
Because I've only seen her in she was, I believe, Kitty Bennett in Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, where she had a grand total of about 3 lines. And, of course, she was, I've forgotten her name, Rainy Day in New York. What was her name? Yeah, she was the English model / actress person that Francisco Vega was going out with. I remember she only had like 3 lines in that, too. Again, I noticed that in Rainy Day in New York, it was when she wasn't actually delivering dialogue, when she was like looking for Ashley, the girl, the noise, looking for the source of the noise down the stairs.
Yeah.
That was when she shone the brightest in that film, even though she wasn't in it much at all. She was great, just doing that little bit where she's just looking when she wasn't talking.
So what we have learned here today is that Suki Waterhouse should play mutes.
Yes, definitely. She'd be brilliant.
Yep.
It's amazing. It is actually
think-
amazing. She would be so good.
I did think, like, the first, 30 minutes before she opened her mouth and spoke, I was just like, I like her. And the moment I said that, literally, she spoke. I was like, oh dear Lord.
It wasn't actually clear how bad her accent was until she was confronting the injured woman in the desert. And I just realised there's only so many things that she did in that film. One of them was to shoot an injured unarmed woman in the head.
Yep.
Yeah. And then kidnapped her daughter.
What?
Oh, and then she left her father for dead in the desert as well.
Oh, yeah.
And then she kidnapped the daughter again from a home that she seemed quite happy in.
And then, made the daughter to suffer the death of a rabbit.
Yeah, that was horrible.
Yeah, I was like...
I love the fact that none of the other characters thought that she was a good person, or that Jason Momoa and her had any chemistry, because even when she took her hand, the daughter immediately just goes up and wrenches their hands apart, and she's just like, no. And then I'm just sitting here like, girl, neither of them even like you. What are you doing? It's crazy. Her character she doesn't. That's the thing. She either doesn't have a character, or she's a horrible person, a horrible, selfish person.
Well, she's certainly selfish.
Oh yeah, I mean, let's face it. She killed that woman out of spite. She literally killed the only person of the bridge people who hated the fact that they were cannibals. And then she goes off with the woman's husband, who is like the biggest cannibal of the lot. It was like, first, I hate you because you probably ate my arm and leg. It was like, oh, I love you because, I don't know, you're buff. Like, what the hell?
How old is she meant to be?
I don't know. She looks like she's about 16.
I'd probably say she was probably, did something that she shouldn't have and then got arrested when she was still in school.
Probably. She does seem like a child, because I wrote 2 things down about her character in particular. She was both sullen and bitchy, which basically sums up every 16-year-old girl I've ever met, including myself. Yeah. It was just ridiculous.
She was not at all likable.
Also, yeah. Also, the trip that she went on after she took those hallucinogenics was extremely underwhelming.
Yeah.
It was basically her just wandering in nauseating slow motion in the desert and just murmuring to herself in her stupid accent. The best thing about that sequence was the music. Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to watch it again.
I am not either.
I
thought
honest.
Maybe I'll love it the second time. Maybe I just missed something the first time. And then I was watching it and I'm just like, I'm bored.
Yep, I started to get bored about halfway through and I was like, I'm still going to finish it.
Yeah.
I finished arguably worse films.
As have I.
So I finished it and I was like, well, that's over. I'm going to watch something else I actually know I'd like.
Okay, so, oh, geez, what did you think of The Rave?
I'll be honest, I barely even remember the rave. Probably how I'd be in real life as well.
I don't know how to bring this up.
Oh.
I honestly don't know how. I gotta write an essay on this or something. Just a side tangent here. We'll get back to the film in a minute. Yeah. I honestly don't know how to address just certain things. When you have a particular interest in something, Why is it so freaking hard to just ask? Why do we skirt around it? Or why do I skirt around it? I don't actually know if
Oh,
other
trust
people
me.
suffer from this, but
I
why
do
does it
too.
happen? Why do we do it? I had another thing on my list about what was good about this film. I just didn't mention it.
Yeah, I'll mention it then. If it's the DJ.
DJ!
Yep, the DJ.
Mm-hmm.
What year was this film made?
2015.
Wow. It was.
What?
I thought he would have had a bigger role in the
Yeah.
film. Like, at least have dialogue.
I think it was probably his choice, and just for the record, we are talking about Diego Luna's insultingly tiny role in The Bad Batch. I mean, at least he had a character name.
I don't remember that.
It's Jimmy.
Jimmy. I remember, I think it's Keanu Reeves mentioning his name.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember what it was.
It was Jimmy.
Yeah.
To be fair, I probably only remember that because it was on the Wikipedia page. Because he wasn't in the opening credits, and he wasn't even... He's not credited at all. He's just there.
So that's two actors who are in it.
Who are completely sidelined. Two pretty well-known actors. And let's face it, Jim Carrey is a lot more well-known.
Yeah.
Although he did have a significantly bigger role. I'm sorry, in 2015, you don't cast somebody like Diego Luna in a role that has no dialogue.
I was expecting to hear something from him.
Yeah. It's like there is somebody intelligibly yelling at the rave, but it's almost impossible to discern whether it's him or somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I will say it was probably his choice to have such a small role. I still am disappointed with it.
Yeah. Well,
that said, his scenes
win.
were probably the only enjoyable ones after the 20-minute mark. Largely because of how they focused on music, particularly vinyl, and I love that. You were going to say something.
I was.
Oh.
I like his hat. Yeah.
That little sequence towards the end, right before she goes to Keanu Reeves' house, where he's putting on the disc. I love that scene.
There's very little of that film I actually liked, but I just...
Yeah, I find it very strange that, I know we've already covered this, that they would cast somebody like Diego Luna in such a small role, but it wasn't like they actually just ignored him.
No.
The film did focus on him twice. They gave him a name. They gave him a purpose there. The fact that when Keanu Reeves was on top of the boombox asking why everybody was here tonight, they all shouted back, Jimmy! They're here for Jimmy's music! And I'm just like, I didn't notice that the first time. And then towards the end, he does get like a last hurrah when he gets to put that great song on, which is my favourite from the soundtrack. And you got Giovanni Ribisi dancing in the street next to the boombox. Also, I just love the fact that it's a giant boombox. They used to get a real one.
Boomboxes are cool.
Yeah, the only things I personally liked about The Bad Batch were based very purely on aesthetic personalized values.
Yeah.
Because I think in a lot of ways that I would have watched that film, found it boring, but I probably would have loved the DJ anyway.
DJs I found are usually, when they're actually in anything, usually the best or most enjoyable part.
In a setting like that as well, they're kind of intriguing. They're just like, how did this DJ wind up in the desert? How did he get that boombox? I want one. Like, I want his story.
So that's two characters we liked who weren't focused on nearly enough, and we actually want to know the stories of, which we didn't get.
Yes.
That sounds about right.
That sounds also like a running theme with films that we watch, generally.
Yeah.
Again, this film is definitely somebody's pet project.
Oh, yeah.
And it just fell so flat in a lot of ways. And I feel like a lot of that has to do with the casting.
Yeah. Honestly, Keanu Reeves and Jason Momoa seemed like it was their day off, essentially.
Yeah, it's like, we're just here for the laughs, man.
Yeah, we're here to get paid and have fun.
Like, the only one who actually walked away from that happy was probably, I don't even actually know. I have no idea who would have walked away from that happily, because, actually, no, you know what? I do know who. That's where Suki Waterhouse and Diego Luna met. They were together until 2017.
That's a while.
Yeah, so they had a lot of fun. And of course, rainy day in New York. So
That's the thought they were together.
I didn't. I remember watching and thinking, oh, that's interesting that they're in this film together. And it only occurred to me as I was watching it, I was just like, well, this would have been about when they got together. Is this where they met? Seems likely.
Yep.
Yeah. It was not a film that showcased Suki Waterhouse's skills particularly well.
No.
I mean, to start with, yes, but no, the film just spiraled down a deep black hole. The best scenes were the ones that didn't have Arlen in them.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a glowing indictment of that film.
I love that phrase.
Yeah.
Glowing indictment.
And credit our brother for that one.
Yep. It is one of his favourites.
Yeah. So I noticed that Jason Momoa's wife had Vamos a la Playa written on her shirt, which literally just means let's go to the beach. I quite like that. Although, I don't know, there's just a lot about that film that just doesn't make sense.
Yep.
I'm just summarising.
Yep.
And that puts focus on things that don't have any impact. Because Arlen didn't really have a character.
No, not really.
Jason Momoa didn't particularly have a character either. His only motivation was to get his daughter back. And he said that. He said literally the only thing he cares about in the world is his little girl.
And I have no idea what Keanu Reeves was doing. Being there.
It was a definite waste of his acting talent as well, because Keanu Reeves can act, and he can do it really well. But I feel like people are now... He's becoming mimetic. He is basically this decade's Arnold Schwarzenegger of the 80s.
Kind of sad.
It is, especially since even Arnold Schwarzenegger has some acting talent, but he's just mimetic now. And now Keanu Reeves, everybody's just like, oh, it's Keanu Reeves, this must be good. No, that doesn't track at all.
Not at all.
Also, he looked terrible.
Yeah.
He didn't look even remotely attractive in that film.
No.
I'm not condoning using an actor just because they look good, but one of the main draws for Keanu Reeves is that he is a ridiculously good-looking man. And yet they put him in this film, gave him an ugly-ass porn stash, 70s hair, and literally no bodily form, and yet you see him with his shirt off.
That was actually one of the things I wrote down, like, why does he have that moustache?
It looks awful. Like, the first time I thought, oh, that's quite funny, and then I'm just watching it again, and it's like, no, it just doesn't work. And the whole idea of him just being this weird cult leader doesn't track either, because it's not like anyone was there, like, who didn't want to be. If the kid had wanted to leave the house, she would have. If his many wives had wanted to leave the house, they would have. And as Arlen proved, if anybody wanted to leave Comfort, they could have. Nobody was under arrest. It wasn't
that could have actually been the plot. That could have been easily the plot.
And I wouldn't have watched it.
And she didn't want to be there, so she had to, like, escape from them or something.
But that is just such a boring plot. I know it's a step up from the one we got.
Yeah.
But it's not a recommendation.
No.
It's not a positive step.
But at least it would have had...
They would have just gone from boring to cliche.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not a step up.
No, it's just a step to the side.
Yeah. But it didn't make any sense. But yeah. Anything to add?
I think we've covered everything I've written.
It took a lot longer to write my notes, but that's because the film was 2 hours long. I think we're good. Do you want to... What did you give it for a rating, JJ?
I gave it a 4 out of 10.
And do you want to walk us through that?
1, good cinematography.
Yes.
2, good soundtrack.
Yes.
3, good effects. And 4, like, a good world idea. Like, I'm fascinated by the world, but...
Yeah, the world building was very interesting, even though a lot of it didn't really have basis, like it wasn't... But if they'd explored that more, it would have been better. But it's like they were trying to be Mad Max, but if Mad Max also ran like a day spa.
Yeah.
Like, we're in a world where we don't have proper houses, but we have plumbing and electricity, it's fine.
Oh yeah, we're perfectly fine here.
Yeah. And frankly, they were. I would have stayed in Comfort.
Oh yeah, me too. If I had to choose between
a
Comfort...
desert full of cannibals.
Or Comfort.
Or Comfort ran by Keanu Reeves' porn stash.
Yeah, I would have gone for...
I'd take the porn stash.
Yeah, even with the drugs...
Terrible. JJ, I'd be taking the drugs.
I'm assuming with drugs, even if you were there, and you probably...
And it's not mandatory anyway.
Yeah. You could just be there and not take drugs.
People were just like, yeah, okay, I'll have some of that. Even Arlen was like, okay, I'll give it a go. Nobody was like, okay, it's time for your drug overdose now. Come line up. It was her hatred of Comfort made no sense. Basically, what she wanted was nothing.
Yeah.
She didn't want comfort. She wanted just nothing. She wanted a literal desert full of a big, fat nothing.
Like the last
Jason Momoa was right. And she was like, I like it here. And he's just like, there's nothing here.
What's here?
What's wrong with you?
Everything.
Yeah.
The last thing I wrote was I saw no real reason why she would hate Comfort. Nobody was trying to eat or anything.
I've literally just written, what's wrong with Comfort?
Yeah.
Is this just like a big thing that's flown over our head?
Maybe.
I don't see it. And one thing that stood out to me was Keanu Reeves saying that it costs a lot to live in Comfort. And I'm just like, does it? Nobody does anything.
Maybe in a more fleshed out story.
They make noodles and have raves.
Sounds great.
It sounds great to me.
You don't
I want noodles and I like raves. Yeah, and apparently she didn't for 5 months.
No.
So I don't know what the problem is. And frankly, I would be front and center at those raves. They were great. Also, the view was pretty nice.
I might get some reading done.
Yeah. That's the best thing about the apocalypse. All the time you need to read.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, so 4 out of 10?
4 out of 10.
4 out of 10. It was kind of a clusterfuck, wasn't it?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah. A clusterfuck with great world building.
Shame that it wasn't good.
And this is what I like to do with things that I watch that just don't hit the mark. I try and write something better out of them. But that was The Bad Batch. A whopping 4 out of 10. Would not watch again. So basically the only thing I want out of The Bad Batch, physically speaking, that could go down so many different roads.
Yeah.
Well, I meant the film poster. Because I like the aesthetic of the winky face, hot pants, and the revolver.
Yeah, that was kind of cool, actually.
Well, I'll be honest, I wouldn't mind the DJ either.
Oh, we knew that.
Yeah, this is true. But I'm practicing this thing where I try not to care. Because the thing is,
It's a good thing to
this
practice.
is not the place to say this, but I'll do it anyway. I think that the reason I hold off on saying certain things is because I'm worried about how it will make other people feel rather than how it would make me feel. Because I think I suffer terribly from secondhand embarrassment. So if I make somebody else feel awkward, it'll just make me feel awkward too. And that's why I generally don't say things that are... I don't even know if they're not considered socially acceptable, but I'm trying to break down those walls because, quite frankly, it's not worth the effort or the trouble. Okay, well, thank you everybody for joining us for this diatribe about The Bad Batch. It was...
We didn't like it, but who knows? You might.
You might. You know
We don't
what?
know. Yeah, we don't
Take the
judge.
positives from what we've said. If you
Yeah.
want to give it a watch, by all means do. It's on Netflix. You can probably find somewhere else to watch it too. I have no idea. But yes, give it a shot. And if you don't like it, well, then you've just wasted 2 hours. Well done.
Like
yeah,
we
I think. Yeah. Well, no, in all fairness, I did get something pretty sweet out of it. So. Okay.
Anyway, yeah. Bye.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.